County Park Board meeting agenda, Thursday, October 10th, 2024. Let's start the meeting. We have a roll call?
Rob Hill, present.
Jim Miller, present.
Cordell Wistison, present.
Crystal Bratwell, present.
Michael Brown, present. And we have,
There you go. Thank you, Doug. Okay, could we have a pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have approval of the July 11th, 2024 minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for July 11th.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And can we get the Parks Director, Michael's report on the mountain first?
yeah, so at the Casper Mountain Trail Center, the parking lot, this is actually a little outdated, is pretty much complete. We did a punch list on Wednesday. The ADA concrete's been poured. There is striping on it. There's a few minor cleanup items, dress-up items on the exterior of the parking lot. The framing inside is nearing completion. The bathrooms, the offices, the kitchen, mechanical room are all framed out. It's just the banquet hall is being finished. They're installing the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So most of the rough in for the electrical, I think, is done. The plumbing's going on as well as the heating. And they've been hanging some drywall, so door frames are going in, drywall is going up. Propane will be delivered next week, and the fireplace will be being installed next week. We're still waiting on Rocky Mountain Power to tell us when we're gonna get power to the building. We've been on the schedule for 4 weeks, so that's one of those hangups here. But yeah, it's coming along nicely, and now they're starting to get into more of the finish work that's always takes extra time.
So is Modern Electric, are they going all the way into the stadium, or is that Rocky Mountain Power?
No, that's Modern Electric.
Okay.
Rocky Mountain, so Modern Electric's our subcontractor for Caspar. They're doing all the electrical work on the site. Rocky Mountain Power needs to run power from the power pole at the gate and set a new power pole by the building for overhead power to the building. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Camping on the mountain's closed for the season. Tables and fire rings, we're continuing to install those at Bear Trap, so those campsites will be complete once that's done. We'll update photos for the reservation site once we have tables and rings in there. We poured 18 of the 30 concrete pads for the fire range, so we're getting closer there. Other than that, we didn't have a lot of pickup when we opened up camping, but we did have some. So people were using the 2 campgrounds that we did open up, so it was nice to see. The trails, Central Wyoming Trail Alliance, they've completed the beginner trail expansion inside the minor loop area. I believe they completed the advanced trail work to build the new spillway. It cleans up some of the erosion issues with the old spillway. That's an advanced trail there. And they've been working on the outer loop trail around Biathlon. These are all single track summer trails for biking, hiking, horseback riding, that type of stuff. They'll be working on signs probably in the spring, if not this fall, to kind of update people on, if it's an advanced trail or if it's more of a moderate trail. But we have probably 3 miles or 4 miles of new trails, so the trail traffic should be getting thinned out and spread out further. So that's a good thing. It's ski season, or should be ski season, but it's 80 degrees. So Nordic passes, we've had inquiries. Sales will begin October 21st. I know there's always a rush. Somebody always likes to have the number one pass. But that'll begin October 21st. We'll start selling Nordic passes.
What is their price this year?
It's the same as last year, which I believe was 50. My department's been reviewing fees and whatnot, and there's at some point when I can meet with the commissioners, we may adopt some increases. But I've been reviewing those to figure out where we're at, because what we bring in trail passes doesn't pay for half of our snow grooming fuel cost each year. So, I'd be a little, not asking for them to pay for everything, but when we have to fall short like that, it makes it difficult year after year to continue. So, I need to kind of share the burden nowadays. Last time those were increased, I believe, was 2012, 2014. So. Ponderosa Park, I think they're pretty close to being done with the trail work there. They've completed the loop all the way around. It's a lot wider for the snow machine groomer. You can drive through it in two-wheel drive without brushing your mirrors and sides. So I know a lot of people don't like it. They think we took away the rusticness, but for fire safety and for grooming for snow machines, it was required.
Who did that work?
Actually, the Wyoming State Trails Department did it, and they did that under a grant at no cost to the county.
That's great, because that did need it. There were fallen trees that could impel somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they did widen that.
Yep. Yeah, so now if you come to oncoming traffic, you can actually get around each other.
Just a side note, Michael, on the Nordic Trail System, the Casper Nordic Ski Club was up there Sunday, I believe, and cleaned up, weed whacked all that area around the starting area. They painted Jacobson's hut, just cleaned up all around to get ready for the ski season. They had, I think 15 to 20 people up there volunteering, and they spent 6 hours up there apiece. So all volunteer work.
And Parks really appreciates that, especially right now. I'm losing one of my staff members. Their last day is Friday, and so I've got a job posted, and I've got some applications have come in. So I'm reviewing applications, trying to find an appropriate fit to fill that vacancy. So yeah, we do appreciate all of the clubs and nonprofits and volunteers, because we really couldn't operate without them. CWTA has been a big help. Nordic Club's been a big help for a long time. So really helps out to be able to keep things tidy and neat up there.
Did you gentlemen read? I'm sorry, I had to find it. But there was an article back in September about CWTA, and it was on K2, talking about the trails that they've built.
Yeah, those have all been reviewed and approved.
But I did think it was really nice, the way that they talked about it and had the information out there, and they have been getting quite a bit of traction. So I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting. And then if you read all the comments, the 10,000 comments, the biggest complaint is the markings on the trails of which ones are easier, and forgive me.
Yep.
So,
And that's the work in progress.
Oh, yeah,
You
no.
get the brunt of the work done, and then you gotta come back and do the finish and set posts and whatnot, so that is coming. Signage is coming on those. That's pretty much all I have on the mountain. Out at the lakes, Alcova, our Alcova Sewer Lagoon. We will be doing maintenance on that in November. It's long overdue, but my staff's capable, so we'll be renting equipment. We've got some of the materials that we need have come into the shop, so we're getting ready to do that work, which will require us draining the sewer lagoon, cleaning it out, replacing some mechanical parts inside of it. So if you smell sewage out there in November, it's probably because that lagoon's not really in operation. It's being worked on. So seasonal shutdown. So October 15th is when our lot permits, that's the end of their season. That's when we're gonna start winterizing the water system out there. So my staff will be blowing all those out and draining all of that. So we'll be busy doing that. Also on the trailer park water sewer system, the design engineer, I reviewed the 50% drawings with them. And they're continuing work on that. This is for replacing the water and the sanitary sewer, as well as some storm sewer in the trailer park area, as well as connections to the boat club. The marina are full hookup sites, and the ski club. The engineer provided a rough estimate of construction costs, and this is really rough because it's 50% drawings, but it's $3.5 million, which obviously the lake budget does not have and probably won't have for multiple years. So I'm investigating some options on how to fund that. This system is 50 to 70 years old, and at some point we'll have a catastrophic failure where we just won't be able to use it anymore. And so to prevent that, we want to put in the new system. But yeah, so we're working on funding sources for that right now, trying to figure out options and whatnot that we can do for that. So while the construction drawings are being finished, staff is looking into that to see what options we have. The last thing is I have probably 15 different construction projects between the trailer park, the marina, the cabins, in various stages of review out there. And I'm sure folks are probably starting to get a little frustrated with me, so if you hear calls, but the private exclusive use projects tend to fall on the back burner when we have public projects such as the lodge, such as winterizing the water system, different operations, so I get to them as quickly as I can. And the building department understands that too, so. Yeah, so that's the summary of what's going on in parks really right now.
Any comments from the board? Questions?
Has there been anything at Hillside Acre since Amanda left? Was at Casper?
Yeah, so I am reaching out to Pathways. I've done the final touches on the design. I need to get it on the ground and just verify some dimensions. And then we can start to acquire the materials. Visit Casper has the funds. Start to acquire the materials. And due to my scheduling with Pathways, it's October now, so I expect it would probably be a start of a project in next semester if they're going to construct that. And I need to get a hold of the professor over there and get in touch with him. I have a note to email him, and I have yet to do that this week, so that'll probably happen in the morning.
Thank you.
Cordell, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you.
I just had one.
Michael, what's the status on the Bear Trap Shelters rebid?
Right now, there is no status. Basically, I'm going back to the drawing board. I did get pricing for a kit that meets all the requirements. That's the same size as we specified. That kit just the kit itself is, I believe, $96,000. And then if you take the cost of the concrete off the lowest bid for that east shelter, that's another 26. And then you talk about installation, you're looking at around $150,000. So I have zero money in my budget for shelters this year. And so I'm looking at options on what we can do, because they're a public quote unquote building. I get differing answers on whether it has to be concrete or if we could put an aggregate base in there. So yeah, that's, no traction yet on that.
What are your,
And what is the commission's feelings for pursuing 1 cent funding? Since this is drawn on to, what? We're approaching 5 years now since we tore those down?
So the last direction I had from the commission was, let's see if we can find a more, fiscally responsible, way to pay for them, pricing. The lowest bid I got when I sent them out to bid for the custom design that, was directed to have that from a previous commission, was $238,000 for one shelter, not for three, for one. And that's for the shelter, the east shelter, which doesn't require any road construction to it or any of that, so. And so that's why I pursued the kit. I did not think they would cost that much, but if anybody's gone to the store lately, everything costs a lot. So yeah, so I'm still reviewing things, trying to see where we can do some cost savings, still pursuing grant options, and whatnot. If you know, somebody that really loves the parks and wants to donate money to, construct those, give them my phone number.
what is
Thank you, Michael.
what is the dimensions or the requirements that you've got on that, that you've got to meet?
Well, now that I'm going back to the drawing board, I really don't. The last one was like a 20 by 34, I think it was. Might be a little bit bigger than that. So that's just kind of the size that we had come up with originally. I think that might have been kind of based off some of the old shelters.
Now, the old ones had a quarter wall. Do you still want quarter walls in these or just posts?
So the custom design included, some quarter walls. But I think that was an alternate to the bid to add those. So I think the base bid did not include the quarter walls on it. But we do have a full set of construction drawings with quarter walls.
And from what I gathered, if I remember right, you are not putting fireplaces back inside these.
No.
Are they going to have a fire pit outside them, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, most likely we would probably install one on the outside, on the exterior.
And is that what the county's going to do, or is that what you?
Yeah,
want the
that's a
contractor to
pretty
do?
simple thing. That's not part of the, construction of the shelter, so that's separate.
So what your construction of the shelter is ground prep for cement, pouring in the cement, and constructing roughly a 20 by 34.
Yeah, so per a geotech report, when we had geotech work on that, we need to sub-X some material, bring in some engineered fill. It's a thickened edge slab is the design we have right now, steel structure. And we went with steel so that, they don't burn down, they don't get carved on, people don't put their eye bolts in for their hammocks.
Still
kind of
paint it.
thing. So, I'd prefer steel, but at this point, if it's a wood shelter, it's a wood shelter. But yeah, I can provide you the plans with all three different sites that we have planned for it, for all three of them. So,
Well, I'll talk to the guy that I've got working at my place and see if he's interested, and then I'll get back to you.
okay.
Michael, are you the one doing the grant writing on these when you say that?
Yes. Yeah, so, and I'm okay at it.
You're pulled in a bunch of different directions though.
Yeah, probably 27, so.
But you have all the data for the grants?
Yeah, I have drawings, I have cost estimates, I have, a lot of the county, typically there's, some documentation on, just clerical type documentation that's required. Yeah, I have all that. And then I can write the environmental assessment portion of it, what type of vegetation's there, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Are there any recreational type grants that we might be missing out on?
Most of those are coming through the state, and I've just not been on a short list when I apply for those. So,
Okay.
Michael, just a couple quick questions. I remember there was talk about the docks and the cabin owners. Did anything ever happen with that, or is that still the
so, yeah, the Bureau Rec was requiring everybody to clear everything off when they're not occupying them. At this point, I've collected everybody's information, this is why we do it, this is why we can't remove it. And, so I've been working with the cabin owners to gather that information.
Yeah.
At some point this winter, I will compile that data. I will draft a letter, to the Bureau Rec, basically saying, this is kind of where we've come to an agreement, and this is kind of where we want to go with this, and see what their decision is on it. Ultimately, it's their property, but I think they'll be open to at least a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I have probably 65 comments or details about how long this equipment's been on that dock, how, they're 80 years old and they can't carry their chair to the dock anymore down 5 flights of stairs. Access to their dock is very difficult. So I have all that, and so I just need to document, compile all that, and get that off to the Bureau Rec.
Okay. So as it stands right now, if somebody were to do maintenance on it, would they?
So
Go back.
maintenance, if they want to repair it, that's easy. That's construction application. They just have to get with me. If it's, replacing 1 or 2 boards, I'll give them email approval and they'll be done.
Yeah.
If they're replacing the whole thing and replacing the piers, then they're gonna have to get Army Corps of approval, Building Department approval, Parks approval, and ultimately the Bureau Rec approval. So if they want to replace something before the water comes up in the spring, they should get their application in soon,
Okay.
really soon.
So, okay, that helps. So just a quick follow-up. So if somebody does something on it, do they kind of lose that grandfather? Like if they were to work on it, do they now have to get rid of
So
everything?
if they want to redeck their whole dock,
Yeah,
they're not gonna get to keep their shed.
okay. It's still that
That's
Okay.
the way the Bureau Rec is right now.
way. Okay,
That's a little bit longer term thing that I have to work on, and that may change in 26 when we redo the permits, but I don't know if I can get that passed through or not.
Could you give a little summary of what's taking place up with the campgrounds? What they all been, well, basically what you've been doing with the different campgrounds, with putting in posts and sprucing things up with fire pits and whatnot?
Yeah, so we went into Bear Trap Campground this year, the staff did, and we leveled out almost all we didn't completely level all of the campsites, but we leveled out quite a few of them and also lessened how steep some of them were. So we did that. We put some fresh gravel on them. We're putting brand new tables and fire rings, which those are almost all complete in the shop yard right now. Those will be going out soon. And then we set posts. Basically, we widened and deepened as many of those campsites as we could because nobody camps in a 20-foot trailer anymore. They've got a 35-foot toy hauler with 2 slides. So we're trying to expand. Not all of them got that big, but some of them did so that, and we'll have that in the reservation system. The dimensions, we also widened them out, so they're a little wider. And that's why we put the posts along the edges is when folks are camping in our campgrounds, we like to keep them in the camp spot, not have the trailer backed off into the trees sideways and whatnot. There's a lot of reasons for that, but, so that's what the posts are for. Now, we have the signs up and installed, and we're waiting on our traffic signs because now that we've realigned some of these camp spots, it'll be a one-way into the campground from the north entrance of the parking lot there. It'll be a one-way all the way around, and then on the east side, it'll be a one-way back to the north to the south side of the campground. Now, the south road that goes to the cabins, that's still gonna be 2-directional from the outhouse to the mountain road. But, so we've aligned these campsites so that this is the way you need to back into them. You gotta be headed south on the west side and north on the east side. So, and it makes it a lot easier. That way we don't have, because the road's still narrow. So that way you don't have to go, oh, I've got campsite 10, but I can't get to it this way, so I gotta drive all the way around, turn around, come the other way. So, it'll make traffic a lot smoother, make, parking your camper a lot easier and whatnot. We do have 1 or 2 sites there that, if the parks rules change, I may be able to set those up to accommodate 2 trailers. So you could have a multi-unit camp spot at Bear Trap. The other thing that's probably not gonna happen until the spring is, I've designated some sites along the road, along the meadow side, to make them free picnic sites, because under the parks rules, if you want to have a picnic in a campsite, you have to reserve the campsite and you have to pay for it. So to alleviate some of that interference of people just going up and using a campsite and then somebody showing up to actually reserved it, I have about 6 places that'll have a single car parking. Be able to set a table there. There won't be a fire ring with the free use picnicking, but there'll be picnic sites throughout Bear Trap.
That'll be just at Bear Trap, not on the road going down to Struby Loop from Bear Trap on the east side. There are some spots down in there that people have tented and parked at,
On Struby Loop?
just before you get to Struby Loop. right
Oh,
off
the
of
Elkhorn
oil.
Springs?
Yeah,
Yeah, not yet. Bear Trap's the only one we were able to get basically complete right now. We did salvage some of the old concrete tables from Bear Trap and replace some in Skunk Hollow and Elkhorn Springs that needed to replace that way. So they're not completely shot yet, so we gave them a little more life. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. And as soon as we get the tables and fire rings installed, we'll get updated photographs of each site and dimensions of each site and have all that on the reservation system for next spring. So you'll know what size camper fits there, what it looks like. It works out pretty well that way.
Is anything going on at the archery range at all?
Not at this time, no. It's on my list. I brought it up at the Natrona County Outdoor Rec Collaborative, kind of looking for some funding to replace targets. the better targets and the cost estimate I got from the Los Arrow Archers was 60,000 plus. That didn't include labor for 55 targets, plus all the material to install them. So obviously I don't have that in my budget, but I am pursuing funds and trying to find a way to at least do some of them, if not all of them, in the spring. So
Are those campsites up there being taken care of later on? Like Bear Trap is?
yeah, we'll eventually kind of progress as funding allows. You know, Deer Haven and Skunk Hollow are probably the next ones. Archery Range only has 4 sites, and it's not highly used. So that would probably be one of the last ones that we would get to. I don't have a project schedule or anything, you know, on paper saying we're gonna do this one this year or that year. It really depends on funding, and as things, if they trend the same way they have the last few years, the mountain budget is been decreasing each year, so there's not a lot of funds to expend on extra besides basic maintenance.
Is the slash pile closed now, or is it still open?
Slash pile should be closed now. I believe it closes October 1st. And this year has been a pretty massive year for the slash pile. So,
Does anybody else have any questions?
So I do, and this might be bringing up, I don't know, PTSD, but I know the last time we met, there was a lot going on at the lake with the campsites and finding camp hosts and sheriff's deputies getting called out there.
so the county commissioners created an administrative parks board, which is the 5 commissioners, and they adopted the rules, the current 2016 rules, in an emergency session, which then gave the sheriff's authority to enforce the rules. So that's been corrected.
Perfect.
The next step for the administrative board is to formally adopt rules, and the draft rules that this board and I have worked on is what's going to be in front of that board to adopt, or at least review and maybe make revisions. And I'm sure there'll be some collaboration with the advisory board on that. But I feel like it's a pretty good product, so I hope there's not a lot of change to it. We spent quite a bit of time kind of fine tuning those. I know past parks boards spent a lot of time in board 2016 and really, or maybe it was 21. 21 is when those 16. Yeah, anyways, before that, I know this board spent a lot of time updating the parks rules then, so.
When do you think the county commissioners are gonna give that to legal? To be okay, the rules and regs?
Oh, to adopt a new set?
Yes.
I believe that administrative board's looking at scheduling a meeting probably within the next month. Oh, we'll let Commissioner North
Yeah,
answer
Commissioner
that.
North, would you please answer that?
As Commissioner North is the chairman of the administrative board for parks.
I was elected as the chairman of the administrative board, and the new parks rules and the camping fees and everything else has been sent out to all the commissioners. To date, I haven't heard anything back from anybody. So we are going to be looking at that. I've talked to Michael about that, and we're gonna try to move forward and get some things taken care of. Right now, there's not a date set up. The commissioners have been a little busy with other items lately, and so that hadn't been on the top of the list of things that we really had to address yet. And especially since it's the end of the season, at least we do have the existing park rules ratified right now, so we do have something that we can work off of. And so at this point in time, we haven't got a date set. We will in the near future. I'm just not sure exactly what that date's going to be yet.
So basically, without accepting the new rules and regs, the SO can go back to the old rules and enforce those?
That's basically what we did. We adopted those officially, and so those are in place. We do have rules in place right now. The only ones we haven't looked at are the new ones yet. So those are the ones that we need to go through and analyze and take a look at. And I do agree that the advisory board needs to be involved in that. If there's something that we need to change or we have questions or something like that, we will address that as it comes up. But like I said, I have not heard anything back from any of the other commissioners at this point in time. So we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
And Crystal, on your question, we actually have on grants, we actually have an individual that's on retainer that works with us. She's out of Denver, but she helps look for different grants and things like that. And even though she doesn't write them all, she definitely helps us find what we need and helps us get the information that we need. And we will be looking at that and seeing what information we can have. The cost gave us all sticker shock.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a low one. The high one was almost twice that. It was 400 and something thousand. So we need to go back and look and see what we really need, and get that analyzed so that we can move forward. And right now we haven't got that information. So, and with everything going up, the budgets are getting tight. They have been getting tighter the last few years, and we have several projects that are pretty expensive right now that we got to get those taken care of before we can really branch out and take a look at anything else. As far as the 1 cent goes, the 1 cent's allocated. We do a 4-year allocation on that. That was already done. We promote that right up front, so we know we have requests that are put in, and that's all part of it. And I know Michael had some stuff in there for the 1 cent, but there's a lot of stuff that's been moved around recently. So I know I just talked a lot and said very little.
Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say more if you'd like.
To say very little. I really don't have a whole lot else to add at this point in time. You know, we got a lot of projects out there that a lot of concerns and different things, and trying to figure out where to get that funding. What I'd like to see us do is see if we can pursue more grants on some of these projects that we have, and just see exactly where we can go on that. Right now, I just don't know exactly which grants to go after. I know Michael has put in for several of the rec board grants, and so far we haven't been successful on any of them. So hopefully that'll change.
Is the rec board managed out of Cheyenne that those grants are coming from?
Yeah, some of them. We did get a rec board grant for Hell's Half Acre. And we did get,
And that was the
the
one,
outdoor rec, state outdoor rec provided funding too.
so the individual, the grant writer on retainer, she writes the grants and sources them for you guys?
She sources them for us and gets that information out to us. And obviously then we're going to have to collect that information and find out just exactly what we need to do. But she tries to lay out as much as she can as far as how to do it. And actually will actually work with us while we're writing the grants and help us, kind of direct us in some of that path. I've worked with her in the past. I put together a pretty big grant request when I was with Mills with fire department. Unfortunately, the grant that we applied for is a very high demand grant and a very low quantity as far as income goes, considering it was a national grant. So that's the biggest problem we have, is that we're competing not just locally, but we're competing nationally with a lot of these grant requests.
So the little bit I know about grants and my experience is usually if you're aligned or partnered with, like, for instance, Hell's Half Acre with Visit Casper, and then there's the volunteer hours and stuff. Does that come into play for a lot of these recreational?
It does. There's a lot of that stuff that you have, you can put in matching funds, and a lot of your matching funds can be volunteer hours or donations of different types, materials, whatever else. So there is a lot of that that's involved in it. And I know, like I said, Michael put a lot of that stuff in some of the grants that we've requested. We just haven't been successful yet, except for the Hell's Half Acre.
You can do the in-kind match, you can do monetary match. It's better to have letters of support from different civic groups, especially, and so that helps quite a bit. A lot of the federal grants tend to want to go through a government entity.
Yeah.
So like if Central Wyoming Trail Alliance is trying to get a grant, it's kind of hard for them to get it if they're not partnered with a government entity, you know, City of Casper, City of Mills, Natrona County. So there's a lot of that goes on too. But there's a high demand for the money that's being thrown out there, and there's been a lot of federal money thrown out in the last few years, and I think that's about to dry up. So.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack you guys.
any other questions while you got me up here?
Do you have any other questions for Commissioner North?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Board, have any other questions? Michael, do you have any more input on anything else?
No, I don't believe so. Staff is just trying to prep for winter, changes the seasons, change of what we manage and how we do it, so. We're gonna be short-staffed on the mountain for a little bit, so I ask for everybody's patience while we continue to get what we can done, and hopefully we'll have that staff shortage taken care of fairly soon.
Okay, thank you. I think if that's the end of the show, then this meeting is over.